This is Journeys of Empowerment. More than a podcast. It's a circle of belonging, where every story becomes a turning point. I'm Michiel Suchitreit. Here, we don't just share experiences. We pause, reflect, and realign with what truly matters. Before we dive in, a word of gratitude to our very first believer and sponsor, Neutopia. We've all seen it. New processes, detailed training, tighter KPIs, yet somehow, the real shift never takes root. Because transformation doesn't start in the system. It starts in the human being. Neutopia understands that lasting change isn't about control, but about awareness. In their awareness workshop, you'll explore why strong processes still break down in execution, why learning fades when it's not embodied, and how to build teams that take ownership, not just orders. Change that drains people won't last, but change that awakens behavior, that's what moves everyone forward. Ready to lead differently and from awareness? Visit neutopia.nl. Can happiness be rebuilt after everything falls apart? Not the kind that looks perfect on the surface, but the kind that grows slowly, quietly from the body, learning it's safe again. In this episode I connected with Nuthan Manohar, happiness researcher, two-time TEDx speaker, and founder of the Me Met Me and the Happiness Tour. Once a corporate strategist, leading projects across Asia Pacific, her world unraveled through depression, anxiety, and chronic insomnia. That followed was not a search for success, but a journey towards safety, compassion, and embodied joy. We spoke about the autonomy of happiness, how joy is not a mood, but a practice. About the bridge between neuroscience and Ayurveda, and lived experience. And about what it means to design happiness that is felt, not forced. As Nuthan shared, when your nervous system feels safe, happiness becomes your default state. And the line that stayed with me, gentleness can be the most radical form of strength. Let's walk into it. Let's just start. Welcome, Nuthan, to the podcast Journeys of Empowerment. I'm thrilled, honored that you're here.
Thank you so much, and it's lovely to be here. I'm looking forward to some deep questions and
no pressure.
Some fun conversations.
Well, we started already right away with having fun. And we were just talking about the new start of Journeys of Empowerment conversation with the question, who are you becoming? Normally we ask at an event, who are you? And some people struggle. A lot of people struggle with, well, who are you is 9 out of 10 is about background in corporate, study here, 2 children, but it's all on the sort of surface level. So I thought, let's start by asking, who are you becoming?
You started with the deep questions already. Who are you becoming? I think after a very long time, I feel safe. I feel I'm immersed in beauty. Like the place I live, it's so beautiful. And I feel I'm kind of cocooned in kindness these days. And surprisingly, that's making me want to be more and to do more, but with more happiness. So I think that's who I'm becoming, someone who can actually give back to this world in a more meaningful way with a lot of happiness.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. You see, I love this question already and I love your answer. Thank you very much. Let's start with your name. Where does your beautiful name come from? The first name and the last name.
So Nuthan means new. This is also the name of an actress my father loved. She was one of the first Miss Indias. So my dad was crazy about her, and that's how the name happened, Nuthan. And Manohar is my father's name, but it means beautiful. It's one of the names of Krishna, one of the Indian gods, and that name literally signifies beautiful. So I'm new and beautiful.
Wow. Already born happy with a lot of happiness, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of strive towards happiness no matter what. And
it was is Northern Star.
It is. It just pulls me and I get pulled to it. So I think from childhood, I think I do see that. And I think that's the essence of my soul, I guess.
Of your soul. Wow. And of course, people are very curious. The Happiness Tour. But also about your company. So you're a founder. And as a founder, what is your mission? What mission are you on?
So I moved to the Netherlands fairly recently, and to be honest, it was something very organic. I started taking people on experiences. I'd already done some research to see what happens when you take people through online interventions to help reduce burnout. I'd also done interventions in classroom or workshop settings. But I already knew deep within, if you take a person through an experience, you learn better. At least I learn better that way.
Of course.
And it was just one of those things where I lived near a beautiful place, Woerden, and I would invite people to come over, not knowing that it is one of the most average towns in the Netherlands, but very, very brave. I would just invite people from the Netherlands to come visit Woerden. And the very first person who agreed to come, she's an academician, and along with the muse of her book, Nurzia. So with two of them, Saskia and Nurzia, they came over and we went for a walk. And using the history, using the shops, using nature, we started reflecting on many things related to happiness, gratitude, equality. And at the end of it, Saskia told me, hey, you should do this more often. And I'm like, okay, why not? And August, we started the very first tour. There was space for 10 and 11 people turned up. And even then, I never thought of it in terms of like, okay, this is something I should make my vision or my mission. But I could see how it impacted people. There was that beautiful sense of joy and kindness and people discovering a bit about themselves as they explore a place. And in the process, I started doing more of these. The turning point happened when, at the end of a tour, there was one woman, she was on a wheelchair. She had severe burnout. I mean, I knew her backstory. She hugged me and she said, I wish my doctor had prescribed this. And that hit home. Because firstly, yeah, of course, this is possible. I can get this prescribed because in India, for instance, you have a huge doctor-to-patient ratio. A doctor can't take care of all the patients. So we do social interventions in between to take care of people. And they are scientifically studied to make sure that, what you're giving out there is not hoo-ha. It's, it's something very
grounded in some science. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a social impact part of it and there's a science part of it. So I said, yeah, why not? This is actually possible. And I decided to, naively again start off on this journey of let's try and see if we can get doctors to start prescribing places, play, people, and a bit of purpose for burnout and not just, products and pills which they're already giving. So this was a very naive dream I had, but it's a very...
Naive? Why do you say naive?
Because I didn't know the challenge that's coming up my path. Okay. So I still stand by it and it energizes me every day because to me it's common sense. It shouldn't even be a question, hey, if you can actually study it, this is something that you should be able to do. And here I am, I have already studied something similar and I have published it as well, all the way in one of the Cambridge journals. So I'm like, hey, this should be easy. I should be able to go talk and... to my surprise, I realize it's not easy.
What is not easy?
So first of all, the concept of social interventions from a medical perspective is an alien concept in Netherlands. It is always the patient and the doctor or the patient and somebody, a therapist.
Yeah.
But something in terms of a group together in a science-backed intervention is not very well documented and it would be the very first of its kind. That being said, yes, in UK, in Germany, in Belgium, etc., Switzerland, there have been similar projects and they do see how much of impact it has. In Netherlands, it's going to be new. Second is, there's a whole concept of digital therapeutics. For instance, when a doctor prescribes a medicine, it's called RX.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When a doctor prescribes an app for, let's say, insomnia, it's called a DTX. It gets covered under insurance, but it's an app that you get. In Netherlands, we are still working on the policy towards DTX. We have e-health, which is often a product, or maybe reducing the burden on a doctor.
Is it a sort of authorization? Because it doesn't say, I don't know that RX and DTX, and that's, but it's about authorization, right?
Absolutely.
So they can prescribe.
Exactly.
Because it's authorized and it has the stamp
it has been,
DTX or RX.
It has been recognized, for instance, your government, your health policy.
It's tested, it's proven, and so forth and so on.
Absolutely.
Rules and regulations are applicable about, Absolutely.
So for instance, if I have an app and, I have so much of data to, prove it, and if I have doctors who can, vouch for it there would be specific standards for the policy. And if you have that, you can actually apply and you can become a DTX, not just in your country, depending on, again, the policy, etc., with various countries, so that the insurance can cover it. Okay. So I thought this would be very easy because 67% of people in Netherlands have symptoms of burnout. 1 in 5 experience burnout. If you calculate it, I think Netherlands loses around 9 billion euro a year because of burnout. So I thought, hey, why not take people on experiences and reduce burnout? And we can study it very scientifically using biomarkers, not just a questionnaire, put it onto an app, which will be similar to a DTX. But I never thought that A, social interventions are a new concept in Netherlands. B, DTX, the policy is getting written as we speak. So 2 interesting challenges, and I love interesting challenges.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that.
The more difficult a challenge is, the more excited I get. If I would love to take up projects which people say, oh no, that can't be done. It gives me the kicks.
Yeah, actually, it's you don't have to see you right now to hear that in your voice. That it's thrilling, right?
It is thrilling.
But you mentioned one thing about why it's so difficult. Where is the difficulty? Where is the difficulty specifically? Is it about?
I understood a bit more after a year and a half of trying to figure things out. So I think when it comes to health innovation funds, which ministry do you think in Netherlands handles health innovation?
It's a good question. I can't answer.
I would have thought it would be the health ministry. It is the Ministry of Economic Affairs.
Seriously?
So when I would go and pitch...
the cost center is there and not there and there to approve.
So when I would go and speak, I've spoken to officers in RWO, etc., and they would be like, hey, the KPIs you are looking at, heart rate variability or speech data to check how less stressed you are.
That's what you mentioned with biomarkers, right?
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
It's not the KPI we are looking at. And I would be like, so then what KPI are you looking at for a medical product? But now it makes sense that, hey, if I need to talk to an economic affairs ministry, then I need to speak a different language. Likewise, in Netherlands, we have welzijn op recept.
Yeah.
So that, again, comes under the culture sports ministry, where there isn't so much of rigor to scientifically study the impact. Okay, so there is a lot of good things that happen, but there hasn't been so much of study. So I had a very strange conversation the other day where I'm kind of, hey, maybe I should apply to culture funds. And I kind of go with my pitch where we are speaking about heart rate variability and, this is how we're going to study and this is how much of shift I think we can bring in. And they're like, we love your experiences, how wholesome it is.
But
it's too sciencey. So for one, I'm not science enough. Not
science-backed enough. Yeah.
The other, I'm too sciencey. But I do understand. See, the thing is in India as well, when I would start off with, hey, we need to have more of well-being interventions, mind-body interventions. Not many were excited about it because we don't speak much about stress, or we don't really care about stress, which is not a good thing because it's one of the most stressed out countries in the world. But I think when you keep speaking that same thing over and over again with slight iterations to help people to start understanding
to
what
normalize it a little bit, destigmatize it.
And then the work start to come. And I often say that, hey, it's not about the whole world agreeing with me. It's maybe that one person in insurance, that one person in health, one person in economics ministry, one person maybe from the royal family agreeing. And that should be it. Till then, I think I have enough reserve to continue the path because every time I do a happiness tour, it energizes me for an entire month because you see the impact on people and what they come back and talk to you about and how they really, really want it. And I also see the part where they come and speak about, hey, this is wonderful, but is there any way this can get covered under insurance? And I'm like, hey, that's exactly what I want for you.
Or you make it more accessible and available for too many, right?
Absolutely. Because
one question, you were talking about intervention, social interventions. For me, it's also a new, relatively new concept. But in that social, what do you specifically mean with social interaction? So that's is that the action before a doctor is interfering, and who decides when it should be a social interaction or you just go to the doctor? So, how to make the distinction?
Okay, so a social intervention for well-being. Normally you would, once you have the data, you can say, hey, a person kind of, on the verge of burnout or maybe moderate levels of burnout, they need support.
Yeah.
And if you realize as in Netherlands, 100,000 people are waiting to get access to mental health care alone. Okay, so you might have to wait a long time before your problems are even addressed. So on one side, you have large waiting period. Second is there any support you can give to people who are on the verge of going into a burnout or maybe have moderate levels of burnout whom we can actually support? So normally, again, this comes after the study. So it's a chicken and an egg problem. Okay. And you can say that, hey, to this level, we can actually give them these social interventions. Okay. Even when I've worked on insomnia, you would look at people from, let's say, moderate levels of insomnia, severe levels of insomnia, and then you say, hey, this intervention is good for people with moderate. So likewise, I think I would be, being premature by saying it, but I think people who are on the verge as well as moderate levels of burnout could use a social intervention. And the doctor who kind of sees a patient with a lot of stress can say, hey, instead of, me sending you to wait for a mental health support, why don't you go this weekend for a happiness tour? So across Netherlands, the vision is to have let's say 20, 30 different locations, different facilitators, different experiences, taking you through a happiness tour and in the process giving you the skills to beat burnout and build connections.
Wow. It sounds highly necessary and very urgent.
I think so too. I think so too. And that's why I think even the urgency with which I work, because every other person I meet is either at the verge of it or have gone through it and are worried about a relapse. And again, all this, we have existing data suggesting that, hey, that maybe what we're doing is not working. For instance, what we call a systematic review. So you have research and you have systematic review that looks at all the studies available. And for burnout, it was found that a personal intervention, for instance, when you get a burnout, you give a person a leave, maybe 3-5 months, or you might stick them with an app, or, certain personal interventions that you do, they have no inconclusive or marginal impact on burnout. And these studies also say that, hey, maybe for burnout, what we need is social interventions where together we connect, we revisit things like meaning, purpose, resilience from a togetherness standpoint rather than me alone.
You know what I hope? What I really hope is that, because this sounds that you are on a mission also to build a community.
Yes.
because it costs time, and over time it will have its ripple effect, and people will talk about it. And because of people talking about it, we normalize more and more. Yes. And because of that, it shifts, hopefully, that's what I hope, also more to the prevention side.
Absolutely.
Instead of being in the red all over, and you should have had help already 6 months ago. But because you now heard about, hey, the happiness tour in an early stage, and you're not really feeling well in your skin, and maybe, sleep is a little off, but by far, when you go to the doctor, just take a few hours sleep, and no. Then when you hear about the happiness tour, that maybe you should join the happiness tour, and it can prevent, because of the social interaction, also in the people you are touring with. How large are the groups? So that's what. So that's what I hope. I hope that eventually, because healthcare is primarily, and also the insurers focused on the cure.
Yes.
And less about prevention. And of course, the business model and the finance and the funding, of course, goes to all the, on the right side, and on the left side is prevention. And but if we prevent, if we start preventing and start focusing on that, but when it comes to mental health, that means that we should talk about it, because we should recognize in an earlier stage that we are heading towards maybe burnout, and then the happiness tour can maybe even help them to prevent. So, long story short, I hope that we will, that it will also have a ripple effect and a side effect, that it helps prevention.
And this is a problem that's affecting the entire globe. Here is what I feel. I think Netherlands is the place where this could actually take root, because one, we do care. While all the health systems are for disease, we actually, as individuals in the Netherlands, we do care about prevention.
Do we?
I think we do.
Where does that feeling come from?
The feeling comes from, since I had to deal with it in India, where prevention is not something that we really care about. I do see people interested in taking care of their health, doing something about it. It comes from the part where, you love being independent. Whether it's, older people that I meet in their 80s, 90s who love to live on their own. They want that independence, which means they have to be fit physically as well as mentally. So I think there is a possibility here. Second is, I also see this beautiful, interest in volunteering and supporting each other. So it kind of goes with the fabric of the society here. And if you can start it here, it can spread across the world. Wow. So I do think in terms of the society, I think the happiness tour has found its home in the Netherlands. And you also mentioned something beautiful, that, we don't have the exact framework for it, but if enough people speak about it, the government is open to take up some projects like this. The insurance is also open to it, which is not the case in other countries. So I'm really happy to be here. While there is the category creation challenge, there is also that openness and that hope that this is where it'll actually change.
Before we start aligning it with your personal journey and why you're doing what you're doing, I would love to dive a little bit deeper in what are the specific challenges right now to move forward with the happiness tour. What are the because this is a podcast. Hopefully, listeners will learn a lot about it. Just what are the challenges which are at this moment holding you back?
I kind of mentioned it as a chicken and an egg problem a bit earlier. Yeah. So if I speak to, let's say, innovation funds, etc., they would ask me for data. And I'd be like, hey, I actually need your support to do a 30 to 50 people study. And I'm going to show you through biomarkers that how much of an impact a happiness tour can have.
And by that build the data set.
Exactly. But then they would be like, yeah, but we need the data to actually, fund you
But
first.
data is always afterwards, right?
Yes.
That's the beauty of data.
So that, I think, is the challenge. And I was talking to someone who was from Sequoia earlier. I was telling him that, hey, so what I do see in terms
Sequoia
of...
Capital, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that, in terms of innovation in Netherlands, if I speak about Uber for women, people get it immediately because there's a reference point. Or if I say Airbnb for farms, then they basically get it. But if I come up with social prescriptions and social interventions which don't have a reference, then it's a bit difficult to, help open the thinking and say, oh yeah, this is interesting. Just to give you an indication, in UK that social prescribing, for instance, a happiness tour is a doctor prescribing a social interaction. A social prescribing, they have learned that every £1 they would spend would give 3 to 5 pounds in return. They would also see that people who go for these interactions are able to reduce the number of GP, general physician visits. So in terms of the health ministry, they are really happy with what social prescribing can do for the country. But at the same time, they have also not studied what protocols work. And this is where I want to come in because I love the protocols, designing how it works, and be able to, study it and put it. So if you ask me what's my first challenge, I think my first challenge, I kind of keep saying it, is getting that pilot study done in the Netherlands.
I think it's very clear. Thank you for elaborating on that. Is it not that it's the Netflix of prescription experiences?
Actually, yes, it is a Netflix of beautiful experiences. Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Think about it. Think about it. Because when you mentioned the examples, I was like, hey, but there should be a biggie in tech who is solving the right thing. And when I think about Netflix, and especially when you look at their beautiful documentaries, it's immersive, right? I love documentaries, and they are with the big budgets, of course, but also there was a chicken and an egg. There wasn't a big budget, and still there. But the ability to create real life, if it's about cooking or life experiences or whatever, or health or diseases, but I think this is the potential to become the Netflix of health experiences. What did you say? Happiness experiences, or how many? So
I kind of put it as wholesome experiences.
Yeah, wholesome experiences. The Netflix of wholesome experiences.
Absolutely. I never thought of it that way. I mean, that's a brilliant way of putting it. It's the Netflix of wholesome experiences, so that you get out there, meet people, learn things to beat burnout, build connections. And here is something that I love about the Happiness Tour. Every tour gives back to the local communities we visit. So if you're doing a tour for Rotterdam, we might visit Schiedam instead and give back to cafes that is a stichting, or we have lunch with another place which has also got a cause and a community. So there are 3 things that come in, and I love the way you put it as a Netflix of wholesome experiences.
Wow. Do you allow me to add one word in what you just said about the wholesome? Healthy experiences. Yes. Healthy or health experiences. Because then it prevents that people are guessing, okay, well, what do you mean with wholesome? But when there is health involved in somewhere, or another word, yes, that helps. But I'm not trying to solve it. I'm just helping. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we can go deep for hours in this. Okay, but you just mentioned the challenge, but also what are the fundamentals or the principles? Why does it work? A happiness tour. What are the working principles?
So when somebody is experiencing burnout, in the first phase, what happens is, cynicism, disconnection. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Most of the solutions don't really address that. Okay. Likewise, I've identified what I think are the 5 skills that we need or experiences that we need to be able to beat burnout. And one is the science of happiness itself. What actually makes us happy, to be able to reflect upon it. So it's not a lecture. It's more about through games and gentle adventures, as I call them. You learn more and more about, what actually makes you happy. Second is mindfulness. Now, to a person experiencing burnout, I've been through that. You cannot feel mindful. Your mind is either running into many directions or not in the place where it should be. So telling a person to be mindful is actually, doing disservice to that person. Instead, if I can take them through a beautiful experiences, and I do this in one way by making cheese. So
Cheese. All right, interesting. It's getting interesting, more interesting. Yeah, Gouda is near Woerden, right?
Yes. Woerden actually makes the cheese which Gouda sells.
No. Well,
Marketing.
That's the reason why we should go to Woerden, right? World famous Woerden in the Netherlands.
So we go to like a organic farm. We meet the cows. You even feed the cows. You can get the milk. Take the milk to the cheesemaker. And this cheesemaker we have in Woerden is so passionate about what he does. And you can actually go there, talk to him. Just listening to him, you might start getting excited about life. And then finally you put your hands into that gooey, slightly warm, slightly dense liquid. You automatically hit mindfulness. You don't have to try. Mindfulness is a natural state, just as being stressed is a natural state. Sleeping is a natural state. So mindfulness is also a natural state, and then people realize, oh yeah, this is actually possible.
Does it help you tapping into that state by just doing what you're doing, and it helps
absolutely, because when
natural way?
Yes, you're putting your hands, so sensory is a way to get mindful.
Yeah.
Like you put your hands into that slightly warm liquid, you automatically become present. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're suddenly present. And then at the end of it, you can actually see the smiles widen. And it's a magical moment for me. And that's the moment I really want to see what happens to heart rate variability. How does it shift? Okay, how does their heart rate shift? And you can actually study that. And then the question is, hey, if this was not a difficult experience, would you like to learn more? And then you start explaining to them why mindfulness is helpful. Not because someone somewhere said that it's fashionable to be mindful, but instead because when you're mindful, you get more choices available for you. Freedom is very important for me, and freedom is connected to choices within me. If a situation is unraveling in front of me, I want to have the choice. Options. And that's possible only if my mind is present.
Autonomy.
Yes. So thus comes mindfulness. We speak a lot about cheese also. We eat a lot of cheese. We love our food. So yes. And just that day, you realize, how that grass, that cow, that milk, all together comes back into something beautiful. You see how things are interconnected. Thich Nhat Hanh calls it interbeing. We are not disconnected from each other. We are not disconnected from the grass. So seeing that connection, slowing down, savoring that cheese, and just naturally, without an effort, smiling, that I think is, happiness store.
Wow.
The other areas we look at is resilience, because, please allow me the freedom to tell the story about the Biosphere 2. Okay, so Biosphere 2 is a University of Arizona experiment. They kind of created a 3-acre dome, and they would try to grow plants, trees, deserts, etc., so that we can someday go to the other planets. And they created the perfect ecosystem for trees to grow. They would grow massively large suddenly. And then they would all fall and die. And that's when they realized, in this ecosystem, we did not put wind. Trees become stronger because of stress. It's called stress wood. That's how they become stronger. And because of how resilient they become to the wind, their roots also become stronger. Their growth,
like the Indian banyan tree.
Like the Indian banyan tree here. And isn't that beautiful? And it grows, and when you take away all that wind, you're not resilient. And so I see the beauty or the purpose of the pain we experience. So the resilience to us is slightly strange. For instance, we go to learn stand-up paddle, SUP.
Yeah.
Most of them don't know it. And then they kind of, obviously fall into water. But we laugh when we fall into water. Mm-hmm. And then the question that gets asked is, hey, you fell into water. Do you want to stay in water? Do you want to climb back up? Do you want to ask for help? And you realize, hey, this is exactly what happens in life. Many paddles that we climb on, and whether it's career, whether it's relationship, it's wobbly and we fall. There could be a way to ask for help. All right. So that's one of the ways that we learn about resilience. Likewise, about purpose, turning your pain into purpose, being able to reflect on that. And in some ways, actually becoming grateful for that pain which is created, made us much stronger. So like the trees, we become stronger because of that resilience that's been built in. And finally, also about bonding. Because I think, especially after COVID, and especially when I meet youngsters these days, I see that connection is going away. You're connected more to the screen, and that's not good for you. Connection with each other is what actually energizes us. And we need more of that. So how do we go about it? And mind you, I'm an introvert. So I know how important it is to spend time with myself. But I do know that it is very important to have those beautiful relationships. It is hard work. But how do we actually learn to develop that? So beyond our titles, beyond our bank accounts or fancy cars, who are we and how can we be vulnerable and how can we support each other? Wow. So the 5 main pillars of the happiness tour are these. Happiness, resilience, purpose, connection, mindfulness. And take people through these 5 tours.
I love especially the part that hits the nerve personally, but also it makes the word connection even deeper, and that is bonding. Because nowadays we talk a lot about connection. Connection. And yes, it's even my purpose is to connect, to empower, to move humanity forward. That's my purpose. And what I believe my purpose is. And when you cut it back to one word, it's connection. So connection and connection. But bonding is even deeper. Because you need connection to bond. I believe there is no bonding possible without connection. But if we have connection, you can start also to bond, to really form relationships with ourselves and with others, right?
Absolutely.
I love the word. I never thought about, of course I know the word bonding. But that's, thank you. Thank you very much. And we can go for hours about what you're doing right now, but I would love also to share with the audience how does it align with your personal journey? Why are you doing what you're doing? So let's start with early childhood and see how that aligns with what you're doing right now. So connect that. Start with childhood and where are you born, parents, grow up, everything. Come on.
So let me start with a very funny story. So my mother's a gynecologist, and in India normally, you have your kids in your 20s. So my mom is 80 plus. She found herself pregnant in her late 30s. So she did not want to have the child. So she tried to abort twice. My father didn't want a child. So he was pretty you have to abort it. And my mother later tells me that one time, she's a gynecologist, so she used to conduct all these operations. And one day she even by accident inhaled a lot of noxious gases. Those days was the NO2 or nitrous oxide for anesthesia. And she was pretty sure that the baby is dead, but I survived.
Oh, wow.
So I think I kind of got that not give up from then on. I think that is a very nice way to think about, why I'm the way I am. And she even remembers she tells me the story as well. Till the last day of her pregnancy with me, she was, delivering other patients. And in the operation theater, she tells the nurse that I think the next is herself. So she delivered a child, and then she kind of, gets herself ready to deliver me. And I didn't even reach the theater. I kind of, I was the easiest delivery she's had. So
I'm quite speechless.
So I think that's how it started. But that being said, childhood was not easy. Because it was only in my 30s that I realized all these stories about, how I was not really wanted. But then she kept me, right? And she single-handedly, it was a dysfunctional family. So my parents weren't mostly together. It was as bad as it can get. But I'm really grateful for her today that, she kept me and she did her best as to what she could do to protect me. And yes, here I am.
Wow. As much as we laugh, and but I can imagine, for me already, we had already a conversation about it, so I knew already a little. But not being wanted and discovering that later at later age, but also during the upbringing, you will have sensed that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was not easy. So there were these weird things between the ego clashes of my parents, I was a very bright student, and I studied in a central school, which was the cheapest possible school that you could imagine. And my parents wouldn't pay the fees. So my teachers used to pull in money to pay for my fees. And technically I come from a rich family, so which never made sense. So those were difficult phases. So growing up, I was a very angry person. I was very angry. There was a lot of violence within me. And again, because I kind of was, moved around from house to house, there was child abuse as well. In India, 1 in 2 children are sexually abused. And again, these are not things you can talk about in an Indian context. Family is a big thing in India. So you don't really get a chance to speak about it. Even as a child, you get punished for speaking up. So you kind of, stay silent for a very, very, very long time. But then eventually you realize that your truth has to come out, because that's the only way you can move forward in life to become who you should become. So this is, I think, the personal side of life. And I think, thankfully, again, maybe genetically, whatever, I think I was a striver, a warrior from childhood. So it was a lot easier for me. I see a lot of children, even in my family also, who experienced abuse, and, I don't think they've blossomed the way I think life allowed me to. So I'm really grateful for that.
I have to take this in. Sorry. Because this is deep, and thank you very much for sharing. What do you think helped you to, as you beautiful put it, life has allowed me to blossom, but in the end, it's also about you. What helped you to blossom? What helped you move forward? Why didn't it define you for the rest of your life? Maybe it did in the past, but why didn't it define you for the rest of your life? What helped you?
To be honest, I do not know, but I can tell you few things that might have helped me in my childhood. I loved reading. So even though it was, books which were much above the standard of my reading, I would love reading the encyclopedia. So you would have problems going on at home and I would be reading about the night watch.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember reading about it as a small child, right? I remember reading about Vermeer, etc. And that was one way I would just transport to a world something beautiful. Second is, I think I also said that, maybe because of genetics, I was more of a warrior sort of kind of, energy rather than a victim. So which meant that if there were other problems, even in schools that when I'm with a classroom of kids, I would try to help others. So there was an ability to kind of go there. And I think I kind of focused more on trying to build. At some point in life, I remember ticking all those boxes to have a good life. But then things came crashing down. So it was in my 30s where I literally came down on my knees, where it was a dark phase in life, which really made me question, who am I? What is life all about? Should I even live? So those questions, it really kind of, went there. And I think maybe it's a divine intervention. I'm mostly an atheist, but I do believe that something has kind of guided me in many ways to where I am. Part of it is maybe the nurturing, the exposure to books, ideas, etc. Part of it is just maybe the genetics. I do not know. That being said, I was thinking the other day, Gabor Mate, I love his work.
Me too.
He's been through trauma and I love his work, and I'm so deeply grateful for the kind of insights and wisdom he brings into understanding trauma. On the other side, there was a sex therapist, Dr. Ruth in America. She'd also been through a similar trauma. Her parents were killed during the Holocaust and she was an orphan in Palestine. Very difficult. But my God, that woman had so much of life. Like late into 90s, she's going on professing life to everyone, right? I'm more attracted by her energy than by all the wisdom Gabor Mate has. I love him, but I think he focuses on what broke us, whereas she focuses on life. And I love that. I think that's, again, just one of those quirks and attitude, whatever. And I think I continue to work with that energy. So
you're sharing a lot in a sort of short amount of time. And I think we're talking about the period around 2010, right?
2010 was the dark phase, That physically, I think I had I was getting treated from my feet to my head, and I was not responding to medicines. I was not responding to therapy. Yeah, it was one of the darkest phases. I really did not think I would survive it.
How much of childhood experiences was in there?
At that point, I never really thought of it. Because at that point, it was just the immediacy of the problems at hand. It was strange. I was going through a divorce. I was not expecting that. My work was in Hong Kong. It had shifted to Shanghai. And a whole lot of things that just went, everything that I kind of stood on, just broke down. So I've had to make choices, but I think at that point my body is like, okay, I've tried everything to get myself out of that pain and create something good, and then everything just broke down.
Foundation down.
Yeah. But I think when you've hit that level and you survive, I think that's when you become happy. Because if you take photos of me in my 20s, I looked beautiful, but if you look in my eyes, I was not happy. Now I think I look much more happier. And I think so now I'm really grateful for that dark phase, because it really got me thinking about what is my life about, what is love about. a lot of difficult questions. And in the process, I think, as cliched as it sounds, as an Indian, I found yoga. And till then, yoga was, stretching for maybe going for a high altitude hike. But suddenly, that was the only 1 hour that made sense to me, because it was excruciating. I'm not a very flexible person, and I'm strong in my legs, but not strong in my arms, blah, blah, blah. And this would expect the kind of presence because it was excruciating, and it made sense. So I started going deeper and deeper. So what started maybe with 15 minutes in a day, at some point became like the entire day. And I quit my job. I went for a teacher training and I went back to Hong Kong. I started teaching, but I was not interested in teaching touching your toes. I was interested in teaching how to have a better life. So maybe you have back pain. So what kind of mind-body intervention can I do to improve your back pain? Maybe I have stress. How do I actually look at it to, improve my well-being? So quality of life is something I'm very fascinated with. And so those interventions were already there in small bits and pieces. Don't come to me if you want to learn a handstand. I love teaching a handstand, but don't come to me for that. But if you want to make sense of the world upside down, yes, come to me.
If we go one step back, you mentioned it started to make sense, that 1 hour yoga. What do you mean with it started to make sense?
So at that point, my mind was either stuck in past, mostly in future, in the uncertainties, and maybe because side effects of medication, etc., my mind was actually suicidal. There was that real fear. And in that 1 hour of practice, me trying to maybe hold a push-up position or stretch a leg that is not very uncomfortable, I could put those thoughts away and my body forced me to be present. Okay. And again, in yoga, you have to be compassionately present. You can't just push and grunt your way through yoga. You have to find that grace in that discomfort. So that, I think, really helped. I started sleeping better. That was a big step for someone who was experiencing insomnia. I was not getting those panic attacks. I had my brain with me. There were moments during the dark phase where I would reach a particular location and not sure where I was, why I was there, and who was I supposed to meet. I would forget. There was a time when I actually saw a magazine. I couldn't remember the name of the celebrity. It was Jennifer Aniston. And I couldn't remember her name. And I knew that means my brain is shutting down. So I think going into my body, especially when medication and therapy, regular traditional therapy wasn't helping, going into my body helped me. And that slowly became the direction. Not saying you don't need medication, not saying you don't need therapy. They are beautiful.
No, but what works for you, it worked for you. And it's a combination.
Absolutely.
Of them.
And I think we should actually have both. We should work with the body. We should work with the mind. The body holds our trauma. The mind holds our patterns. And both might need changing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So did it also help you on a different path professionally? Because what were you doing before 2010 and what started to emerge in you after 2010?
So 2010, I was managing 11 countries across Asia Pacific for brands like Oreo. So I think by the time I was 28, managing 11 countries was a good ego boost. Most people who reported in were much older than me. So it was kind of, again, the challenge. I love that work. So I love brand consulting, especially working on behavior, consumer behavior. How do you nudge behavior? That's something that I just love working on. Even now when, somebody comes with an interesting challenge, I take up the project.
Little shout out to you, Joost, from founder of Neotopia, Organizational Behavioral Management. and the sponsor from the very first moment of our podcast. I think you would love to meet Nuthan, but sorry.
So actually, I think the success of some of the projects which came later. So again, from brand. So 2010, I stopped brand consulting, but in many ways, the projects still continue to come because I do like the challenge. So for instance, when I was 2013, I moved back to India. I set up Me Met Me to meet yourself.
Yeah.
But then from the center, we started a little movement called Embodied Kochi, which means with love from Kochi for a flood in a nearby city called Chennai. And it went on to become...
Gucci as Gucci. Gucci as the brand Gucci.
Kochi is the city.
Oh, the city,
Kochi.
sorry.
Good, yeah. Good. Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, but are we talking about the brand? Because brand, and then I wasn't...
So we... Ooh. So, Kochi is...
I have the genetic markers, but
okay.
I'm a Dutchie.
You will love this. So Kochi was one of the few Dutch colonies in India. All right. Okay. So Kochi is a tiny southwestern city in Kerala, steeped in history, all the way to ancient Roman times.
Clear.
But
obviously no Gucci.
Not Gucci. Yeah.
All right.
So Embodied Kochi is with love from Kochi.
Yeah.
Kochi. It's my city.
Clear.
And the project went on to become a global best practice for UNDP. It was the world's largest civilian participation for disaster management. And we started it from my little yoga center, 8 of us, and then it grew to 11. And then from there, it just... But there, the idea was, hey, youth need to do things that, give them meaning. In my city back in India, if you are young, you have nothing to do there.
No.
I mean, going to a restaurant or going to a movie is just one of the things, but there isn't much as a youthful being. So this movement, which was meant to help a city for flood relief, became like a revolutionary point where, people just came in to help out because it was fun, but at the same time, it added meaning. Likewise, a lot of it has to actually depend on the consumer insight. Anyways, I digress. There are lots of these kind of case studies I have. And this is something that I just love doing. And I think I do see a bit of that coming in the happiness tour also. For instance, I don't call it the burnout tour. I call it the happiness tour.
Deliberately.
Yes.
Before we dive in, because otherwise we make it a too big jump for... so you went back to India, and then Me Met Me.
Yeah.
And where was the starting point of coming to the Netherlands? So because let's make that jump.
All right. Do you want me to go back to moving to India?
Yeah,
I'll do that. Okay, sorry. So I used to work in consumer behavior.
Yes.
And 2010, I shifted into well-being. 2013, I decided to move back from Hong Kong to India.
Yes.
And there I set up Me Met Me, finding yourself. So on one side, there's a yoga center teaching you yoga classes for your physical and mental conditions, but at the same time working with the community. A project went on to become a UN best practice globally. From the yoga center, we were actually able to mobilize the world's largest civilian participation in disaster management. So 2013 I started, 2018 I met my mentor, and he felt that I needed to do more because there was something about my approach and, combining wisdom and science and experiences. And he was the one who suggested I should actually start in Europe. So now, at that time, I also went online because I had been single for around 7 years. And I wanted to meet someone. And I met a wonderful Dutch man.
Okay.
So it all came together, I think. 2018, I moved here. Now, here is a beautiful part of it. I thought he lived in Sweden. I didn't know he lived in Netherlands.
In Woerden? No.
I thought he lived in Sweden.
Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of my work needed me to come to Netherlands. Even some of the research happening in Netherlands was always fascinating to me. So I think 6 months of online connection, and I realized only later that, oh my God, he's in Netherlands. And I'm like talking to my professor, also my mentor, that maybe I should move to Netherlands. And poof. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was meant to be, I think.
And you just did.
And I don't think any other Indian would say this. I love Dutch food. I love the Dutch weather.
No.
It's impossible. But give me like boerenkool or give me stampot and I love it. So there you go. I think I was just meant to be here.
Yeah. Wow. Whoa. So you're living here in the Netherlands and now building. So are you building the happiness tour or are you building Me Met Me?
I'm building the happiness tour.
Happiness tour, huh?
So I'm setting it up as a stichting because I want the research to stay pure.
Yeah.
Because if you work in a private limited company, at some point, investors will start taking over. So I want a situation where, because I said in the happiness store, we give back to the local community, which means there are, significant vendor costs. Yeah. I want them to be supported. Second is I don't want to dilute the quality of what gets offered to people. So which means ideal model would be a stichting or a social enterprise. So that is the way I want it to grow. Me Met Me is taking a back seat. I think I need to kind of spend at least few years on the happiness store before I think of the Me Met Me again.
And building and scaling towards cities.
Scaling towards cities, to the world.
To the world.
To the world.
How much of your your amazing personal journey is, you think, into the work you're doing right now? How much of that?
I think it's every bit of it, because whenever I meet someone going through burnout or going through pain, I see a bit of me in them. And I also see that possibility if we inspire them, we bring back awe and bonding, that we might actually help them in that journey. So I see a bit of myself, bit of my past in every part of it. I think as a child, I think the greatest gift I was given was, curiosity and awe. And I want people to start revisiting that. We all had it. We could play, we could, be children. That, I think, is getting lost. Let's try to bring that, and happens in a happiness store. Gentle adventures, kind connections.
Wow.
Mindful moments.
Mindful moments. This is... I'm still processing, because we went in just an hour through so many layers of life, right? Standing right here where you are right now, if we're let's try to imagine. I see you as a possibilitarian.
I love that word.
Yeah, that's one of the first words beside driven, energetic, and all recognizable also. But that possibilitarian.
I really, really resonate with that, because I don't resonate with driven so much. I'm driven only when I see something like a dog behind a bone. Mm-hmm. Right? Otherwise, I'm pretty chilled out. I love that word because, I think I want to see a world which is kinder to each other. And let's go in that direction.
So having said that, try to imagine we're in a time capsule forward. And we're sitting here in about 3 years. Where would you love to stand when it comes to your stichting and to your... Where are you most... No, maybe the question is where would you love to be most proud of then?
I think for me it would be a much larger number of facilitators for the happiness store, which means more people, more experts believe in the value of experiences. So for me, that is very, very important. And at the same time, the number of people you can actually reach. And if you notice youngsters, first-time jobbers, they are the ones experiencing burnout. Youth, 20s to 30s, which should be the happiest moments of your life, are now not the happiest. I want to see if that can change. So I think that impact is what would make the most value to me as a person. But if I were to think in terms of we can't take commerce and business out of our heads since we worked in the industry, I would think in terms of, expanding into other countries as a digital therapeutics, which means insurance is covering in, let's say, Dubai, in India, in Japan, to take people on happiness tours to help them connect with themselves and with others.
Beautiful, beautiful. Maybe I didn't ask one question. What is the digital part in Happiness Tour? I didn't ask that question, and why? And now it pops up because I was like, hey, but what is the digital part then? What is the digital part?
So, for instance, if you come onto the app, it should read things about you and suggest you the 3 happiness tours, maybe one based on your location, one based on your personality, one based on your interests or what you really need. So which is the best happiness store? If you have 20, 30 happiness stores happening on a Saturday in Netherlands, which one is best suited for you? Second is with your permission to be able to track your heart rate or using your speech to understand how well are you flourishing, are you going through something difficult. And it doesn't end with the tour. Okay, after the tour also, to be able to keep track so that when you start feeling low, like a good friend, when you're feeling low, say, hey, let's meet others and let's maybe talk about kindness. So the online community for a 15-minute practice together. So I'm not the kind of app which would tell you, hey, did you drink water today? Did you do your... No. This is more when you really need it. And then kind of say, hey, this week we have a 15-minute online catch-up. I think you will like it. Why don't you join that?
Guidance instead of demanding.
Exactly, like a nudge.
Gentle nudge.
Gentle nudge. And an intuitive nudge because it tracks your heart rate variability. So then it knows that, you are beginning to show signs of stress. So then let's kind of, help you out. So take you through these 5 journeys and be able to track that because end of the day, insurance would want to see what's happening overall, not personal data, but overall what's the result. So be able to track that, you need it. And also to make sure that, you kind of keep experiencing it. Second part is also after 5 tours, many people actually want to volunteer. So then how do we kind of, build that community as well? So I now have happiness champions and happiness volunteers and happiness advisors. To build all that, you definitely need an app. And let's say you're traveling to Japan. If you want to go for the happiness tour in Japan, you would want to do that, right? Instead of do a regular tour, you would be able to learn from culture, you would be able to learn from experiences and improve, let's say, mindfulness. So I think you definitely need a tech part.
Of course, yeah,
that's the way you scale up.
That's it. That's interesting. So it's to round this one up. It's like the Netflix for wholesome, tiny, healthy habits experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which you pitched that.
I think I kind of go with, the vision is, to get doctors to prescribe play and people. So that, I think, is the vision. And how do we do it? It is digitally enabled, which means it is scalable. You can have multiple locations, multiple facilitators, and it can track.
You can even collaborate with Polar Steps and kind of make it a journey, and they can make. Polar Steps?
I'm not aware of that.
Then I will show you.
Okay.
With Polar Steps, it's you can travel, and for instance, my daughter India is going to travel in February to Southeast Asian, and she can commit to polar steps, and then you can plot your whole journey. And also, it's also for journaling and for pictures, and people can follow you actually making that whole journey. So we as father and mother can follow her, of course, but also see. But also, when it comes to to scaling abroad, it would be interesting to do the polar steps collab with your beautiful company, the Happiness Tour, and the Happiness Tour meets polar steps.
I think that's a lovely thought.
I
think it's a lovely thought.
It's location based. Yeah. There are all principles in it which would be interesting also to think about smart collabs to scale abroad.
Because this is one project I feel can work only with collabs and with others.
It's an ecosystem.
It is an ecosystem.
So beautiful. Nuthan, we're heading towards the end of our conversation, and thank you very much for sharing so much. What guides you? So, when you navigate through life with all your lived experiences, what is really helping you and what guides you?
I think I'm being guided. Again, for all practical purposes, I'm atheistic, but I do feel someone holding my hand and taking me through experiences, and at the point where I could have chosen something that is not helpful, something within me guides me to take some more helpful, more positive, more useful choices. And and with the Happiness Tour, I've been experiencing it from the very beginning. I didn't have the idea of Happiness Tour. I wanted to do Me Met Me. I'd put in so many years into it. I was even a Shark Tank finalist for Me Met Me in India. So there was a lot of plans, but then suddenly this happened, and it just keeps on guiding me. And I see that every day. Just the other day, I walked into the wrong direction and my phone got wet. I needed to charge my phone, and I come to a pyramid-like structure in Amsterdam. I walk in, and while charging we start speaking, and they really need my support. Or I need to be present there. They're working on loneliness, they're working on burnout. It just happened. And this keeps happening every week. It's almost magical. So I don't think it's me making it happen. It's not even manifestation. It's just magic. And so I feel I'm being guided. I hope I do it justice.
You will, and you are.
Thank you.
Nuthan, thank you very much for sharing all the depth which you shared. And I'm looking forward. Yeah, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to keep following your journey. And thank you.
Thank you. You've been really kind, which helped me really open up. I see the depth with which you listen. Again, a lost art. So thank you. You made my life easier.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If something in this conversation steered you, pass it on to someone who might need it. Because sometimes one story is all it takes. Keep going. Keep listening to what matters. And keep being you. Oh, and before we close, a quick call to agency for all the men listening. On December 3rd in Amsterdam, we'll gather again for the next Women's Health at Work sessions, organized by Embrace Health, formerly known as Mama Moon Health. Even if you think women's health isn't your topic, you might have a mother, sister, colleague or daughter who needs you to show up. The only way to really see what's happening is to be part of the conversation. Looking forward to see you there.